Hiroko invented the areophany, the young native countered. That's her first concern. Mars. She will help us, I know. I met her. She told me. Except she's dead, someone else said. Another silence. The world flowed under them. Finally, a tall young woman stood up and walked down the aisle and gave Anne a hug. The spell was broken. Words were abandoned. They got to their feet and clustered in the open space at the front of the train around Anne and hugged her, or shook her hand, or simply touched her. Anne Claiborne, the one who had taught them to love Mars for itself, who had led them in the struggle for its independence from Earth. And though her bloodshot eyes were still fixed, gazing through them at the rocky, battered expanse of the Terrena Massif, she was smiling. She hugged them back. She shook their hands. She reached up to touch their faces. "It will be all right," she said. "We will make Mars free." And they said yes and congratulated each other. "On to Sheffield," they said. "Finish the job. Mars will show us how." "Except she's not dead," the young man objected. "I saw her last month in Arcadia. She'll show up again. She'll show up somewhere." At a certain moment before dawn, the sky always glowed the same bands of pink as in the beginning, pale and clear in the east, rich and starry in the west. Anne watched for this moment as her companions drove them west, toward a mass of black land rearing into the sky, the Tharsis Bulge, punctuated by the broad cone of Pavonis Mons. As they rolled uphill from Noctis Labyrinthus, they rose above most of the new atmosphere. The air pressure at the foot of Pavonis was only 180 millibars, and then as they drove up the eastern flank of the Great Shield volcano, it dropped under 100 millibars and continued to fall. Slowly they ascended above all visible foliage, crunching over dirty patches of wind-carved snow. Then they ascended above even the snow until there was nothing but rock and the ceaseless, thin, cold winds of the jet stream. The bare land looked just as it had in the pre-human years, as if they were driving back up into the past. It wasn't so. But something fundamental in Anne Claiborne warmed at the sight of this ferric world, stone on rock in the perpetual wind, and as the red cars rolled up the mountain, all their occupants grew as rapt as Anne, the cabins falling silent as the sun cracked the distant horizon behind them. Then the slope they ascended grew less steep, in a perfect sine curve, until they were on the flat land of the round summit plateau. Here they saw tent towns ringing the edge of the giant caldera, clustered in particular around the foot of the space elevator, some 30 kilometers to the south of them. They stopped their cars. The silence in the cabins had shifted from reverent to grim. Anne stood at one upper cabin window, looking south toward Sheffield, that child of the space elevator, built because of the elevator, smashed flat when the elevator fell, built again with the elevator's replacement. This was the city she had come to destroy as thoroughly as Rome had Carthage, for she meant to bring down the replacement cable, too, just as they had the first one in 2061. When they did that, much of Sheffield would again be flattened. What remained would be located uselessly on the peak of a high volcano above most of the atmosphere. As time passed, the surviving structures would be abandoned and dismantled for salvage, leaving only the tent foundations and perhaps a weather station and, eventually, the long, sunny silence of a mountain summit. The salt was already in the ground.